This is Export Like a Boss, the podcast for those on the front lines of international business and trade. Succeed in business on a global scale. The planet is your market. Here is your host, Alberto Rodriguez Baez.
Hello and welcome to Export Like a Boss. Today's episode is a first in Export Like a Boss history because we are at our guests' offices. We are at World First US offices, which are located in Austin, Texas. Our guest today is Vanessa Villarreal, Partnerships Executive. Welcome to Export Like a Boss, Vanessa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Vanessa, can you tell us a little bit about World First? What does World First do?
Yeah, so World First, we're an international payments company. So our focus is to help our clients save money on their international exchange rates. We help private individuals, corporate clients, and e-commerce merchants save money on their exchange. What most people don't realize is when you go online and look at a currency exchange rate, what you're looking at is the interbank rate. And most banks actually charge, anywhere between 3 to 4% on top of that rate to their clients without even realizing. So what World First does is we actually help them save by only charging them anywhere between 0.5 to 2%, which, for a growing business makes a huge difference and actually helps them a lot and increase their bottom line. So that's our goal, is to really just help them save and sort of educate them on what they could potentially be saving with us.
Indeed, and certainly small and medium-sized businesses need all the help they can get. So we will talk more about it in a minute. But before we get into all the specifics of your tools and resources available, can you tell me how many people work for your organization here in the United States, and if World First has any other locations around the world?
Yeah, so currently we're at about 500 employees worldwide. As you know, we're located here in Austin, Texas. This is our U.S. headquarters. Our main headquarters are actually located in London. We also have offices in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Sydney, Australia as well. So we're pretty expanded in terms of global reach, which is incredible.
So how long has your organization been in operation?
We started back in 2004, and just, even within the last 5 years, the expansion has just been phenomenal. We still consider ourselves a fairly new company, but just, in a matter of years, we've seen it expand, into different continents and new offices. And so, being that we've only been around since 2004, I think it's been pretty phenomenal growth so far.
And how long have you been part of the organization?
I started last year in August, so it's actually going to be coming up on a year now. So what just feels like yesterday has already been almost a year, which is pretty great.
And earlier you were mentioning that you are transitioning, or your company is transitioning from headquarters in DC to headquarters in Austin. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so we actually had originally 2 U.S. locations, so one in Washington, D.C. and one here in Austin, Texas. What we really want to do is sort of replicate the same office feel that we have in our London location, which is everybody's under the same roof. So, instead of having 2 separate offices in the U.S., we want to bring everybody here to Austin instead, so we can have sort of a U.S. hub where everything's happening under one roof and in one location. So there's no disconnect between employees.
Very well. Can you tell us now a little bit more specifically, what kind of services does World First offer to small and medium-sized companies that are doing international trade, especially exporting?
Our business in general is separated into 3 tiers. We help private individuals. Those are just individuals needing to purchase an overseas property or to do any sort of international tuitions if they're studying abroad. And then, of course, we help businesses, those that are doing regular overseas payments, whether it be to suppliers, if they have expatriate employees working abroad. And then we also help e-commerce merchants. So that's Amazon sellers that are selling online internationally and want to save more on their exchange rates. But in terms of the business side of it, as I mentioned, it's really focused on those companies that are doing those regular overseas payments that need to transact internationally on a regular basis. And so we help them increase their bottom line and save as much as they can.
definitely. For a company that is doing exports, for example, what would be some of your most useful services for them?
In terms of exporting, especially, one of the most important things is staying up to date with currency fluctuations. One thing that a lot of businesses realize, especially in exporting, is just how much, a currency fluctuation can affect their business. So if they're not keeping up to date with, with the latest currency rates, or, if, for example, if the dollar's strong or if the euro's weak, whatever their currencies whatever currencies they're actually transactioning, that's where we come in and actually help them save. Our services actually helps them keep up to date with the market and what the changes are. So we try to help them make sure that they capitalize on their funds. So since a lot of businesses don't actually realize just how much that can affect them, that's where we come in and sort of help educate them on those currency fluctuations. So they realize that they could potentially be gaining or losing money.
And that's a great resource, because a lot of companies, they're exporting, for example, to Mexico, where right now the peso keeps fluctuating and creating certain issues for American exporters. So let's switch a little bit to more specific examples. Can you please tell us a couple of examples of companies that have used your organization services? What were their challenges, how they were assisted, and what were the results of using your services?
Yeah, so there was one major company that, the biggest, objection that they had with using a service like ours originally was the familiarity they have with their bank. So the company had used their traditional bank to do international transactions for over 20 years. So then we come in as the new guys, presenting our opportunity to them. And so obviously at first they were really sort of reluctant to want to use us. But basically what they did was they showed us an example of the last 6 months of their financial transactions that were international. And we actually did a cost analysis for them that actually showed how much we could have potentially saved them. And just within those 6 months, it was something about over maybe $19,000 that they had lost. So once they actually got to see, just the potential of how much our service saves them and their business, that's when we actually really convince them to start using us and to really utilize the service that we're offering. So that's a great example of a company that had come from that traditional bank relationship and now is working with World First and is happy with the service that we provide. And one other example is another company. Their pain point was they had overseas suppliers that they needed to have them pay an exact U.S. dollar amount. So obviously with currencies changing, it's hard for companies or for overseas suppliers to know exactly how much is due. So one of the pain points was the fact that the overseas suppliers were paying them, but it wasn't the right amount. So the company came to World First. We have an online platform that actually allows their overseas suppliers to go online, and we actually do the conversion for them. So if they need to pay the company $20,000, they can put in $20,000 and it automatically converts to their home, say if it's peso or anything else, it converts to their home currency, so they know exactly how much to pay that company. So that's really beneficial, and we come across that pain point all the time from businesses, just because banks don't offer a sort of service like that, a platform where they can actually have their suppliers go online and help pay them in the amount that's actually needed.
Right. One of the big issues that I see happening in this situation, or in situations like this, is that foreign clients, for example, if they need to pay to the exporter in the United States, first they need to get the dollars somewhere in their country, maybe through their bank or through some other source, and then they do the wire transfer. And these two transactions in some places can be time consuming, can be very expensive, like for example wire transfers, and cumbersome for both parties. So foreign clients can pay you through your website, is that correct?
Correct. So their foreign clients would have to actually set up an account with us, and I mean it's a fairly easy process. But once they're able to do that, we convert their home currency for them. So rather than them having to actually go to the bank and convert to dollars and not know exactly how much, our online platform, World First Online, actually allows them to put in their home currency and know exactly how much they're needing to trade. So
Right.
Again, that's a huge pain point for people involved in importing and exporting it. So that's where we come in and really help them help them through that confusion and that pain of not knowing exactly how much their foreign clients are actually going to be paying them.
Right. Does the foreign company that is paying through your website, would they have to pay for the service, or is it no cost to set up an account for them abroad?
No, there's no sign-up fees with World First. The sign-up is absolutely free. If it's anything that's under 10,000, then there is a $10 flat rate. And then more than 10,000, there's no fees whatsoever. So it's it's mostly free service, and it's again a $10 flat rate, whereas most banks traditionally charge anywhere between $35 to $45 for a wire fee. On top of that, 4 to 5% exchange rate that we mentioned. That's pretty high, especially for businesses doing a certain amount of volume in international trade.
Right, and that's extremely affordable and useful for all companies, but especially for small and medium-sized companies that we deal with all the time that are cash-strapped, that want to make it easier for their international clients to conduct payments. And this is a great tool. What's this resource called? Does this service have a specific name?
It's just World First Online, so it's our online platform.
Okay.
So once you sign up with an account with World First, you have access to that online platform.
Great.
So once you set up an account, you automatically, once everything's been approved, you get online access and you're good to go.
And the website is worldfirst.com?
That's correct.
All right, very well. So you mentioned the cost of the money transfer already, which was $10 for
anything under 10 grand, and just that $10 flat rate, and then anything above that, it's free.
All right. Are there any other fees associated with that service?
The only fee, in addition, is just the small spread percentage that we take on top of that. Every bank, every institution charges a certain spread on top of the interbank rate. As mentioned, most banks, financial institutions charge 4 to 5%, so we're only taking anywhere between 0.5 to 2. So
did you say 0.5?
0.5 to
wow.
2%. Mm-hmm.
That is very affordable.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if they're larger volumes, then we want to make sure that we charge them a very low percentage. Mm-hmm.
Great. Sign me up.
Yeah, there you go.
Very well. Something that I saw in the news not long ago, probably about a month ago, I saw World First in the news, and the article was about resources for e-commerce and how those resources help companies targeting international markets. The specific market they were talking about in that article was Japan. So can you tell us about this e-commerce platform or resource and how that helps companies involved in e-commerce?
Absolutely. So e-commerce clients, they're wanting to expand, and diversify their revenues. So the way to do that is to expand internationally. So when most e-commerce merchants that are selling on, say, Amazon or eBay, any traditional marketplace, if they want to possibly gain more funds, then they would need to go international. But when you go international, there's always a risk that you're not going to be getting back as much as you put in. So there's always that risk in terms of currency exchange that the Amazon sellers are not going to be making as much money as they could have. So with World First, we actually help them save on their exchange rate. We also help them, keep up to date in terms of market fluctuations. We just recently came out with a magazine that's called E-commerce Solutions that actually has a resource in terms of currency trends and things like that e-commerce merchants find extremely useful. And we're actually able to work out of, I think currently it's over 150 currencies, but in terms of e-commerce, we just now launched in Japan. So that's actually a huge vertical for us because a lot of our clients have been asking when we're going to expand it to Japan because the Japanese market is huge. They want to take a lot from the US and what we're offering. So to be able to actually have Amazon merchants sell into Japan, it is a huge, huge progress for us. So we're really excited about that.
Great. Are there any other territories where this resource can be used, or is territory specific?
We are a little territory specific. We can actually onboard clients in most countries. The only places that we can actually do transactions is most of Africa and in the Middle East. But in terms of major currencies and even some exotics, it's usually not a problem for us. It's just the Middle East area and Africa that we run into issues, and we haven't actually created a jurisdiction there just yet.
Okay. And talking about currencies, A big issue that a lot of companies are having right now is fluctuating currencies. So, do you offer any services to hedge against that issue?
We offer forward contracts, which means if a client is in favor of a certain rate that they're receiving, they can actually lock that rate for up to 3 years, which is one of the better services that we offer, especially with rates fluctuating around the clock. Basically, we're actually able to lock in that rate for them. I know a lot of our clients are wanting to do that with the Brexit thing that's happening right now, with the UK wanting to leave the European Union. A lot of people are worried about where the pound is going to go, so they're actually locking their rates in now, just to protect them, protect their assets, and protect their hedging, just so they know that they're not actually going to be losing a significant amount. So that's a great service that we offer.
What are the fees for this type of service?
So there is actually a deposit. It depends on the actual volume that they're transacting in total. There's a small deposit involved, but that's basically just holding that rate for them. So as long as there is that initial deposit, I believe the minimum is $1,000. They're actually able to hold that rate after that deposit is. But it's still their money, but it's just having it being held under that rate.
Let's switch gears here and talk about advice for companies doing exports or any other international trade transaction. What are some of the most common mistakes you see exporters make when dealing with foreign exchange?
The most common mistake that I've seen just in my experience is exporters, for example, not paying attention to where the rates are headed. People automatically transact without actually looking at what the current rate is. Had they waited a day, a week, or however long they needed to, they could have actually significantly saved on that exchange rate. So sometimes while they want to go ahead and make those transactions immediate, it's almost worth it to wait and to pay attention to what the market rates are and to where they're headed before actually doing that transaction. So that's the number one mistake that I've seen come across, is just the fact that they don't necessarily always pay attention, which does happen often. It's a common mistake.
What are some of the lessons from assisting exporters or companies doing international trade in general that you can share with our listeners?
Especially when utilizing our service, I would say a huge lesson is to trust in your account manager. So every person that signs up an account with us, they actually get designated an account manager. And what this account manager does is facilitate all of their transactions, but they also have their best interest in mind, and will be the person to actually let them know where the rates are headed, and advise them to a certain extent, not actually advise, but give their 2 cents, so to speak, as to where they think there's a possibility of a rate moving in their favor or against their favor. So my advice would be to them is to if they do sign up an account, is to really utilize that service, because not every service is offered like ours. Banks don't offer that same sort of personalization that we do.
Right.
A lot of people today, for example, somebody mentioned PayPal. Which PayPal, charges an enormous amount, and would never provide that same sort of personalization, have that sort of personal relationship with the account managers that we do here with our clients.
So if I heard correctly, when you sign an account, you get your own personal advisor, if you will, or account manager that is there for you to give you advice when you need it?
It's not actually an advisor, but it would an account manager that does have their best interests. So if somebody is holding a certain amount of funds in their World First account, their account manager may call them out of courtesy, just to say, the dollar is really strong at this time, the euro is strong at this time. It might be a good time for that money that you're holding to actually deposit it at that time. So while they're not actually giving advice, they're just basically, from experience, sharing with them their knowledge and really sort of looking out for the best interests of the client.
Great. That's a very good service, because most of the times you don't get that kind of support from financial institutions. So having these type of services, and on top to have an account manager that can help you with questions, or sometimes bringing up some insights like that, that's very useful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, again, you don't get that same sort of relationship with traditional banks, so we sort of pride ourselves on that customer service.
Very well. So your company, World First, deals with companies doing a lot of international business. So, in your time working here, have you heard about any situation or something that made you realize that doing business abroad is not the same as doing business in the States? And this is what we call the "we are not in Kansas anymore" moment, when you realize that things work differently while you do business abroad. Do you have any situation that you have heard or seen personally that brings up that kind of insight?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most eye-opening things for me was the variety of industries that really can utilize a service like ours. When most people think, international exchange, they think, just limiting to exporting and importing, or businesses that have several areas, worldwide. But what's been the most interesting thing for me so far is just seeing the variety of industries that actually need an international currency solution like ours. For example, anything from whether it be retail fashion, to agriculture, horses is an example. We work with a lot of people in the equestrian industry, to dairy, to a lot of variety of businesses that actually do a lot of international transactions. So that's where I was actually myself surprised to really learn about the international need and how many businesses here in the U.S. Are expanding internationally and finding use for a service like ours.
All right. So if anyone in the States wants to use your services, how can they contact you?
Well, they can get in contact with me at my email address, and it's vanessa.villarreal@worldfirst.com. Or they can contact my colleague Monica Page, monica.page@worldfirst.com. But if they just want to find out more information, they can just go to our website at worldfirst.com and check it out.
Great, and we'll have all these links to World First and to their services in the episode's notes on our website. So let's just start wrapping up. Just a couple more questions. Number one, do you have any recommendations for exporters to make the most when using your services?
Yeah, absolutely. I might have touched on this earlier, but I would say to appreciate the relationship they have with their account manager. The account manager is very skilled in terms of currencies and rates. So if they have a good relationship with their account manager and actually look to them in terms of what the best move would be for their current international exchange needs, I think that's a huge piece of advice that I would give to them is to really take advantage of the service that we offer in that area, because again, not everybody offers that. So
certainly. And again, I encourage everyone to check out the website worldfirst.com and the tools and resources they have available there. This is an area where a lot of businesses fall short because international currencies and foreign exchange is an area where certainly we need the most help we can get. And World First has great solutions, great resources, great account managers that can provide tremendous services that can make a huge difference in the operation of the company as far as money management in the international arena. Vanessa, do you have any parting words before we wrap up the episode?
My parting words would be just check us out online, see what they can. Stop losing money in your business and start using World First instead.
Great. And again, we are very thankful to have the opportunity to be here at the U.S. headquarters of World First in Austin, Texas, our first episode on site. And certainly we are very happy to be here. And check out the episode's notes and see all the different links and the services they have available. Again, thank you very much, Vanessa, and we hope to see you soon again.
And thank you for having me.
I want to thank Vanessa Villarreal and the World First staff for their hospitality. I had a wonderful time at the World First office in Austin. I posted some pictures in the episode's notes on our website, exportlikeaboss.com. There you will also find links to the World First services mentioned in the interview. As always, you can find us on Twitter. Our handle is @exportlikeaboss. You can also contact us via email at podcast@exportlikeaboss.com. That's it for today. See you in a couple of weeks, and remember, the planet is your market. Export like a boss.
You've been listening to Export Like a Boss, the podcast for those on the front lines of international business and trade. For past episodes and more information, visit us at exportlikeaboss.com or subscribe on iTunes.